Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the New Construction Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Anya Chrysanthon, and I'm very excited to introduce my guest for today, Saksham Sharda. He is a creative director and CIO at Outgrow.co. Welcome to the show and thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Anya.
So if you don't mind giving us a little bit of your story, how did you get into what you do now? So tell us about who you are and what is it that you do now?
So I basically do marketing for Outgrow.co, which is a no-code tool that allows anybody, whether you're a freelancer, whether you work in a mid-level enterprise, or whether you work, in a small business, it allows anyone to express their ideas on the internet without having to know code. So using Outgrow, you can build 8 very fundamental types of interactive experiences that you can use for your business. And these are basically quizzes, calculators, chatbots, polls, assessments, forms and surveys, e commerce recommendations. So these are basically interactive content pieces that allow users to perform a function. They take them through data in a very interactive way. So that's what I do. As a creative director of Outgrow.co, I'm always looking at ways in which our clients, companies that we know of, they can expand the creativity with which they use these tools.
Gotcha. So how did you get into this field of marketing? Have you always been a
Well,
marketer?
not really. I was I was actually originally a literature student, and then I pivoted to how to market films. So I was looking at films marketing. That's what my research was on, and then I came across the company Outgrow.co, which had such great ideas and great ways of bringing the expertise of the common man to the internet that I started marketing for them.
Nice, awesome. So obviously content is still the king, is it? So can you talk to us about like why is it important to produce content?
Well, I think content used to be the king. It's still the king. But what we are right now, it's like, often said we are living in the information age. And the economy and the market works on information. And that's why content is king. But we are also living in the late part of the information age, which is often referred to as the over information age. There's too much information. You go on the internet, there's too many things to choose
Too
from.
many
There's too
cat
much to
videos.
read. Yeah, and too many cat videos. And or it's also called the disinformation age and the misinformation age. So there's too much content and you don't even know what's true. So how does a company stand out when there's so much content out there? So like say on like a builder's website, the primary call to action was just contact me. And obviously, there are tons of websites out there with the same call to action, the same kind of description that people have to read. Why would anyone click on your particular website's contact me? Now imagine alternatively there was a builder's website that says, see how much I can save you in construction fees. That is the main call to action. And that asks you a couple of questions, and then it shows you in that experience over time. It shows you in a graph. It shows you over time how much money you will save or your company will save by employing my services. And this is important because what it's doing, an experience like this, what it's doing is that it's filtering data and it's providing you targeted value based on a couple of questions that you answer. And so it shows you, how much money you're going to save. And that's usually a better, more attractive call to action. And conversely, to the builder himself, it shows, the more people who go to his website and they take this little quiz that has, 5 or 6 questions, the builder is collecting good marketing data. So it makes them understand their audience better. They can use this data to, retarget them, Facebook advertise with this data more. So it's totally possible to expand the limits of what you can do with interactive content.
Yeah, I think interactive content is definitely where it's at. You're so right with the amount of information out there, and it's almost like okay, like we know it's important to produce content in order to create those relationships with your audience and to attract your audience. But it's also like how do you produce content that actually resonates with your audience, right? Because if you look at even social media right now, it's all about entertainment, right? So it's like, okay, you have to make your content valuable, but also it has to be fun to consume. If it's not fun to consume, then it's just going to be overlooked.
It's just gonna fizzle out, and which is what I keep saying though, is again like to make content fun. The content that you make, to make it fun, to actually really connect with the audience and make it fun, you need to remove from yourself the burden of coding, or like the burden that is put on you when you're like, oh, I don't want to put something online, but hey, I actually don't know how to code, so I don't know how to like put this, I don't know how to publish this, I don't know how to put this thing out there. And that's why Outgrow is so helpful, because we offer like 1,000 pre-made templates in 21 different industries that people just go, it takes them 2 minutes to customize, and then they go and publish it and they play with it. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, the key is to understand the market and to know that you're a player in the market and that you have some expertise that you can show to the market. And fourth, that you're not encumbered by code and you are free to show it. And so this is one of one of our clients did this, when Airbnb was just taking off. This was in the noughties, the 2000s. The Airbnb was just taking off, and this real estate client that we had, they made a calculator that they're not planning to sell homes on Airbnb. They were planning to sell homes to people. So they just made a fun calculator that showed, how much can you make by Airbnb your property. And in this calculator, they had questions like, where's your property located? Is it located near a World Heritage Site? Is it located near a sea? How often do you want an Airbnb in a year, et cetera, et cetera? And then they would give you a customized, price about how much you could make per year in a graph they would show you on Airbnb. And so they put this, like, they're a real estate company. They're not really putting it on Airbnb, but their company's brand name and logo is on this experience. So they have put this experience out on like places like Product Hunt, and it went viral. Like, it went viral, it got so many hits, and then there were all these people willing to buy their properties on the French Riviera. They had some properties on the French Riviera, and they had them on the US East Coast and West Coast. And a lot of clients, wanted to buy these properties so that they could then Airbnb them, right?
Mhm.
So but this helped the real estate company because they were able to creatively understand what the market is talking about and how they can attach their own brand name and logo to this wave in the market, and attract people.
That is genius, because what they did essentially is they educated their audience, right? Because a lot
Hmm.
of times people don't even realize that, um, it's like, okay, maybe I'm considering buying a property, but could I really afford this property? I mean, it's a dream to have a house in the French Riviera, but the idea of like, oh, I could actually turn that into Airbnb when I'm not using that property. Now that suddenly that makes it affordable, not only affordable, but maybe even profitable. And
Hmm.
so it's a way to educate your audience while making it a fun, interactive experience. So you're not just, because imagine if this was a blog published about the benefit of Airbnb versus you have this interactive quiz essentially, right? That answers your questions about where the property is located, how much money could you possibly make. So think about the difference of one being consumed versus the other, and then also the possibility of going viral. Like, have
Hmm.
you ever seen a blog go viral?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's just very rare. And to me, it's just like a lot of people have like a very pessimistic view about like, oh, there are too many startups, there are too many companies, there's like blah, blah, blah. To me, I think anyone who's listening to this podcast, like I think anyone who's out there, they are wherever they are in their business because they have a particular thing that they understood about the industry, and that has got their business to wherever they are. And that's what I always try to tell people, that you have the experience. The talent is in you. It is coding that's putting you back, and you just need to change the game by stopping to blog and instead, going a step ahead and saying, hey, this is the value that I can give you. Are you willing to give me your email in return, or just something? So before they provided, for instance, in the Airbnb calculator, before they provided the results, they would ask them for the email, and obviously the user knows they're getting some concrete value, and this is not just a marketing gimmick. It is pure value that's being given. So even if they, in the end, they didn't buy your real estate, the house that you were selling, they still gave you their email because they understood you're not a pure marketing gimmick. And B, they were like, we are getting some value in return. And so when you get their emails, you understand more about the market, you understand your clientele, and it really helps you. And obviously they share the experience with other people, right? So instead of like sharing a blog, they're sharing this experience. They're like, okay, find out how much you can make. They give it
Mhm.
to their friends and so on and so forth. So I think it's really a way of playing with the market, and it's an enabling thing. And I think really anyone can make use of it.
Yeah. So I guess I can think of a specific situation where you want to make it hyper targeted to your specific market, because obviously, unlike Airbnb, you're not necessarily going to sell or build properties all over the world. So you do want to make it specific to your local market. And then, the way you want to advertise that is, again, you can certainly put that on social media and make it very, very specific to your local market. And then think about the types of things that customers are always saying. Like, the other day I was like totally like almost losing losing my shit. I was like, I was running Facebook ads, and it was for new construction, and somebody said like, "Oh my God, I can't believe like $500,000 for this new house. Ha ha ha, that's outrageous." And then somebody else said, "Oh, I'd rather buy an old house. At least it's going to be, it's like it's going to be like standing." And I just wanted to like lose my mind and be like, would you say like, "Oh, I don't want this new iPhone 12. I'd rather have this like the flip Nokia phone because it's gonna last longer." Like that is such a ridiculous, outrageous thing. It's like, just because you can't afford that doesn't mean that, so it's like people's perception. So how do you change somebody's mind about it without going on, on an offensive, on this like tirade, like, right, you don't want to rip their head off and take your rage on them like I wanted to, certainly. But think about how you can educate them on the topic of like, hey, yes, it's going to be more money up front for new construction, but over the term of the ownership, it's actually going to cost you less money potentially than buying a used home. And so think about how you can make it into a quiz, where you answer questions like, hey, how long do you plan to live in the home? Um, you know, how many people are in your family? Maybe, how do you like your temperature in the house? Do you like it at 75 degrees, or do you keep it at 65 degrees, so that you can take energy consumption into an equation, and how new home is going to be much more energy efficient, and how much money you can save at the end. So think about how you can incorporate some of those things into the quiz. And then I think you're so right about collecting the email addresses. Obviously, the goal is to collect those email addresses, and then you can nurture the relationship with those customers. So again, if they're local customers in your area, maybe they're not going to buy right now, but down the road. So it's always a good idea to make sure that you are following up afterwards. Now, the key with the email, I think, is to put it at the very end, right? Because how many of us have taken a quiz and it'd be like some stupid quiz about like, what's your cat personality, or like, which one of the friends are you most like, or those, or which character of Sex in the City is most like you. It's like dumbest quiz ever, right? But you've taken the time to answer those questions already. So now it's like you get to the end and it's asking you for email address instead of giving you your results. It's like, oh, even though this is like pure junk, but at this
Yeah.
point I may be tempted to actually put my email address just because I got to know the answer, right?
Yeah. No, for sure. I think it's a clever strategy to just put the email right before the result, because the person, like, even in these quizzes that you said, the cat quizzes and the Sex and City quizzes, you're already invested. Like, you've been through 10 questions and you might as well enter your email. And you know what? Even if like someone feels that they're not so much invested in, especially in these cases, like we are actually providing value, right? So in this case, like you are actually telling them something about the house. So they
Mm-hmm.
will most probably like give you the email. So I think that's how it will work. But the examples that you've given about targeting, they're so true. Like on Facebook, yes, one can like target specifically, and then you only reach the demographic that you are aiming to sell to, and that's important. And B, again, like unlike a blog post that is talking about one particular topic, and it's static and it's not changing depending on the kind of user that's viewing it. In the same way, well, so sorry, in a different way, interactive content actually changes as the viewer views it. So in the real estate Airbnb calculator, the user enters what his price range is, what kind of a house he wants to buy, and then based on that you're giving them particular results. So someone who really wants to save money isn't going to complain and say, oh, I'm just like, well, why don't you just enter a lower figure in that case if you wanted to, like, show a lower thing. So yeah, that's another thing. I just feel like there's just the users are like out of the box, like. And I think one of the ways in which people can also associate is that initially the whole idea of Outgrow as a business, it started because our co-founders were working in another company where it was possible, they were making mobile apps for people who wanted to, like, launch the app on the App Store or on Play Store, etc., etc. But these people didn't know how much it's going to cost to hire some developers to make these
Mhm.
apps. So what our co-founders did for this previous company, they made a calculator that said, how much would it cost you to make an app and put it on the
Mm.
Play Store or on the App Store? This was like back when there was a huge app revolution and
Mhm.
everyone wanted to make an app. Everyone had an app idea,
Right.
but no one knew. Everyone wanted to make an app, but no one knew how much it's going to cost. So this simple calculator showed so many, so it went viral. Basically, this calculator went viral and people would just come to their website only to find out how much it costs, how much it's going to cost to make an app, a ballpark estimate. That's all the people needed. They would go there, they would check out the calculator, they would go to, like, and they would, like, they'd get a figure amount and they would go to some other company. They wouldn't even come to their company, they'd go to some other company to make an app. But this calculator became the go-to spot in the internet for finding out how much it's going to cost to make an app. And then people were, like, sharing this calculator, and that is how that company got famous. And so my point is, like, uh when one looks at this example, one understands two things. One, that your clients, you need to meet them halfway.
Mhm.
Whoever they are, you need to meet them halfway because they probably do not understand the industry as well as you do. Just as these people who had great ideas about making the apps, they didn't understand how much it's going to cost. They wanted some kind of an estimate. And that's what estimators help you with. Like, even
Mhm.
in the case of, like, if someone wants to, like, do a building project in a particular state, and if you have a quiz, like, which state should you do your building project in? Right. So being in the industry, you are able to tell people that better than any random stranger out there. And if you put a quiz like that on your website, you're immediately going to attract so many people who are going to get
Mhm.
immediate value from that quiz. So the possibilities are really endless. And I keep advising people, go to our website, outgrow.co, go to the template section. There's 1,000 templates on, like, your particular industry out there.
Mhm.
Check them out, play with them. You will come up with better ideas. Like, you will get more creative the more you play with them, and that is something one has to do. And one final thing that I really want to say is that as a medium or small business, that's where we've seen a lot of creativity that's come in. Like, as in, really big enterprises, when they have to make, like, a widget or an applet, it has to go through several stages, several
Right.
departments, legal department, developers, etc., etc. Whereas if you're a medium and a small business, it will take you a day to, like, go on a website, build something, put it on Facebook, ride the current marketing wave. If it doesn't work out, go and build something else. And so that is the advantage. That is why the market prefers small and medium businesses, because that is where creativity comes from. And this is exactly the kind of no code tool that allows people to do that.
Yeah, and especially so I can think of so many different calculator ideas in my head right now, like even, for like how much does it cost to build a custom home, right? And then you put in your information and again, voila. And especially if you are a national company, and you have presence in several different states, and even if not, you again, you become that authority that people trust then because you've given them some information for free. And not only like you gave them kind of like, oh, it can be between 500 to 10 million depending on what you're looking for, but you're giving them more of a ballpark because they've actually entered some of personal data to make that. So yeah, so that's great. So can you run through the eight interactive experiences one more time? So obviously we've talked about quizzes, but what other options are there?
So calculators slash
Calculators.
estimators, calculators, estimators, that's what I call them, because they really, like, give you a return of investment and show it graphically. And obviously you can use it everywhere in construction. We have so many clients using it. Calculators, then quizzes. And then tests or assessments. Tests and assessments basically like give you a graded score at the end to show you how well you performed. And this is a great way of like educating your market and your industry. So it's good to put these in your email newsletter, embed them there, and show your market. Like I'll give you an example like who uses this. The entire news media agency has pivoted towards tests and assessments. So you like if you go on the BBC or CNN, you must hear about the quiz of the week, right? Where they like test the audience, like how well do you know about these articles? And then this quiz directs people to more articles about this. So, if you don't know about something and you fail in the quiz of the week, then you're going to go to their website and read more about that article. But this is a way of them keeping you on the website. So quizzes and tests and assessments, and then polls, which is a great way of doing market research about your particular, industry, etc., and your clientele. And
Mhm.
then you go to e-commerce recommendations, which are like, if people really don't know what kind of a house to buy. So like, like when you walk into a store, like, everything that a real estate agent is doing. Like, so I'll give you a very simple example for this is like when you walk into a physical shop and you want to buy a pair of sunglasses, there's usually a shop assistant who is knowledgeable about the field and who knows like oh, based on your face shape, your eye color, your nose shape, your hair color, etc., he suggests a couple of sunglasses that you should buy from. And
Mhm.
but no one has the option of doing this on the internet. Like on a virtual store, you don't really have a shop assistant, but you can do that using e-commerce recommendations. So again, so it would be like a real estate or a construction person who tells you, well, this is what suits you. So instead of like having 400 different options to choose from, it reduces choice paralysis and it gives you just three options to choose from, and that's easier. So that's an e-commerce
Love it.
recommendation. And a chatbot is basically something that allows you to do all of this, right? A chatbot just you put it on your website, it can allow you to make choice easier, or it guides you within the website because some websites are too complicated, so the chatbot can actually take you to a particular place in the website you want to go. So that's a chatbot. And then there is contests and giveaways. So during holiday seasons, you can always come up with like particular discounts that are time limited, and that encourage people to buy faster. So usually people are like get stuck in the buying process and they're like, maybe we'll buy this in January, maybe let's buy it in February. So like in the Christmas area, Christmas time, you give them a 40% special discount, and then everyone suddenly wants to buy it, right? So, and you give it like in a time, so you can set the contest on a time, and that will
Mhm.
allow you to do that. And also like for one free thing you're giving, 100,000 people will participate, and that's how contests are helpful because your brand name gets like shared a lot. So those are contests. And final one, I keep forgetting like because they're eight, but they're all on a website. I think the final one is, let me just look it up.
See, so we
uh
did quizzes, calculators, tests,
oh
polls,
yeah, forms and
e-commerce,
surveys.
chatbots, contests, and
And final is the forms and surveys. Again, like forms and surveys anywhere on your website, like the simple flow of a website usually involves forms and surveys. Like at some point people are entering data, so that is the final thing, again, for market research.
got it, got it. Well, this is certainly an innovative and great way to create content that is fun for people to consume. And if you guys look at anything, again, I think with social media, it's always easy to know kind of like what's trending. So like if you open your Instagram app, you'll see like Reels right now, like super popular, right? Because it's fun, it's short. And so it's like, I call it like a fun education, right? So the idea is to make it educational but fun. So that's real certainly one way to do it, but think about all the different options that you can do with Outgrow.co to make your content really really fun to consume for consumers. And at the end of the day, that's all about making it visible, right? It's like when we talk about emails and the subject line being the most important, like this
Mm,
is kind of like the most important is the packaging of your content. Because if your content is awesome but nobody's consuming it because it's overlooked, because it's not catching attention of people, then you just wasted a whole lot of time, right? I mean, obviously blogging is still really important because Google reads blogs, but you also want hopefully your consumer to read the blogs. And one way to get them to engage is to make it super fun. So I really appreciate you being on here. Now, can you tell us how we can find more information about again about your company, and how we can get started with the quizzes?
well, so the two things. I would say to get started, always go to the templates page on our website. So when you go on a website, go on templates and search by industry,
Mm-hmm.
and that will allow you to pick them. And B, if you want to claim a special 20% discount and an extended trial, that would extend your trial from 7 days to 30 days, go to outgrow.co/CMP. So,
Outgrow.co/CMP.
yes, CMP.
CMP. And you guys, I will link that in the show notes as well. So definitely get your 20% and extended trial period. So, and then remember, just like anything with marketing, you got to play, try, and if it fails, try again, right? It's not necessarily that the first quiz you create is going to go viral or it's going to be popular at all. So you got to try different images, maybe different wording, different title, and see what resonates with your customers. And at the end of the day, it's all about making it catchy. So don't be shy and make sure you're really playing with that.
Yeah, and like because you also mentioned Instagram earlier, that's what I want to point out. It's people who learn to play the market instead of being played on by the market. And Instagram influencers are like a great place to look for because this is it. Like on Instagram in the past decade, we have seen the rise and fall of huge businesses. Like, these influencers are making a shit ton of money, like,
Mm-hmm.
and they're doing this through interactive content as well. Like, because when you look at like all these fitness influencers, for instance, they have these personalized quizzes that recommend personalized, workout plans, and they put it in the Insta stories because you swipe up and it takes you to the
Mm-hmm.
quiz. In the same way, we have seen people in the construction and the real estate industry use it. And that's what I'm saying. There's a 7 day trial that you can extend to 30 days. You have 30 days to like, and you know how many experiences you can make like 25 different experiences in 30 days because they are pre-made templates. You
Mm-hmm.
really just have to edit them. It will take no effort. Put it on your Instagram, put it on your social media. Even Facebook has now introduced a new function where the Facebook tab where you can actually embed a calculator or an estimator on your business page itself. So try it
Oh,
out,
that's
check
pretty
it out.
cool.
Yeah, check it out. Like have fun with it. Like go in with the thing like that you are bringing some expertise, and code is not going to limit you. So you are bringing it to your clients.
Well, Saksham, thank you so very much for being on the show today. I really appreciate it. I think you brought a lot of interesting ideas to the table. And so I challenge you guys in 2021, give it a try. And again, you're going to be creating content either way, so might as well make it fun. I
Yeah.
will speak with you very, very soon. Thank you again for being on.
Thanks for having me, Anya.